Welcome to the Fiber Girls Show, a podcast committed to connecting communities and accelerating businesses through fiber optics. Now, here's your host, Tanya Bohannon.
Welcome to the first Fiber Girls Show podcast. I'm so excited that we're here on behalf of T.A.K. Fiber Optics in Indianapolis. In this show, we hope to connect communities and accelerate business by talking about all things fiber. Kicking off our first show is my guest, Mike Hill, CEO of Ontrac Incorporated. Welcome, Mike. Thanks so much for joining me.
I'm excited to be here, and congratulations. It sounds like a wonderful opportunity for T.A.K.
We're excited, and I'm mostly excited to talk to people like you and get some good information about the industry. Let's start by hearing a little bit about you. Give us a little history of your background and how you got into the fiber industry.
Well, as fate will have it, you'll like this story. I was working at a service station that I had worked at my entire life, it seemed like, but from the time I was about 13 years old forward, and this strange thing had come to town in 1963 called cable TV. And the fellows that were coming in to get fuel at the gas station I was working at was always a happy-go-lucky bunch of guys, and they were always cheerful, and so we carried on conversations. And as that business was coming off the ground and starting up, they asked me a time or two about, what did I want to do in the future and why wouldn't I come to work for them? And I was really happy doing what I was doing. I was working for a wonderful man who was quite influential on me. And, finally the time came. I'd graduated high school and they came back and hit me up again. And so I was just decided to work two jobs for a while. So I worked daytime in the cable business and nighttime at the gas station as I was becoming a young married man. And you need the money and you need the time. And so what happened was that it just opened that door up into telecommunications. Little did I know this brand new industry, because cable really started in 1948. So it was a new industry spreading across the country, and there was no such thing as satellite television. So you imported broadcast stations from distant channels, distant cities, so people would have more viewing choices on their 12 channels of cable TV. And that developed into a wonderful career that I've literally loved the entire time, working with people, talking with people, being outdoors. I was a lineman at that stage of my career. And it developed that I saw that I didn't want to, in my 40s and 50s, to be climbing telephone poles. So I started pointing my career and my objectives to be into some type of management, leadership, technical or operations. And the Lord provided me opportunities to move over into a management/technical slot, and then real quickly into management, and then real quickly into corporate management. And I was with one of the largest privately owned MSOs, that was Salmons Communications out of Dallas, Texas. And they were very much a promote from within company, and that afforded me some opportunities. So I spent 27 wonderful years with that company. And then they decided to exit the cable industry and sell that property off. They were very diversified, and I didn't stay with that company, and I got over into the world of providing labor, contract labor, through some associates I'd met in my career. And then 8 years later, so 35 years into my career, I decided that, I could do this. And my son had graduated from college with his communications degree. And he said, "Dad, let's do this for ourselves." And we decided to start our own contracting business. And then the cable company didn't like it that we got an opportunity for the first triple play launch, which was Bristol, Virginia Utilities, to do some fiber optic drops. And so we started doing that. The cable industry didn't like it because it was an overbill situation by a muni. And we said, well, we've got to go full board because they shut our contract that we only single one contract off. And we thought, boy, this could be the end of our company. And lo and behold, it was the Lord opening up doors for us to really move forward. And we put all of our efforts behind what was then known as the FTTH, fiber to the home industry. And it was the first triple play build, the second build for fiber optic deployments. The first one was Kutztown, Pennsylvania, which was a double play. And then BVU, and it just went from there. We got very involved in 2003, 2004 with the Fiber to the Home Association, which has developed into the Fiber Broadband Association. We've been working with them, and I've been fortunate enough to be on their board since 2006 or 7. And, I could see it, at best said by an engineer friend of mine in this industry, that the fiber optic industry is the new interstate system to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably know when the interstate systems got developed, there were many towns that the old state highways used to run through that become almost ghost towns because the interstates passed them by. So we've said, if you don't jump on this fast new interstate system, your town could get passed by because it means economy, it means jobs. And I'm a true believer that the other 65% of America that's not yet been fibered is missing the ball if they don't jump on board. And companies like yours help build those systems, and ours, Connections, we're a connectivity company.
Earlier I mentioned that, our tagline is to connect communities and accelerate business. And I think you hit the nail on the head. It's where we're going in the future. Can you talk about some of those benefits? What do you feel are some of the benefits of switching to fiber?
Well, I'm going to give you an example. The hometown that our corporate office in is Morristown, Tennessee, and we were probably the 5th or 6th major triple play build. There's a company that you would probably recognize the name called Colgate. And one of the reasons Colgate built a facility and created 800 jobs in a small community of 50,000 was because they had high-speed broadband access. And it wasn't the reason, but it was one of the reasons. And since that time, community after community and town after town has been seeing their young people who move off and go to college, and they really don't want to come back to the town, coming back or staying in the town because they now can do business from home. They can now be working with companies who are working with businesses all around the world, and you cannot do that without reliable, high-speed access. So I'm a firm believer that the road to economic development in communities across America, and especially we'll probably talk about it, rural USA, because this is a small rural town that we live in, and we have businesses coming here. It's a good labor market. You've got high-speed access, and I think that's what the rest of America is going to be seeing. And you're seeing development now in Colorado, Louisiana, Texas, etc. It's all over. Indiana. I'm a firm believer that our mission, the Fiber Broadband Association mission statement, is to further the deployment of fiber optic in North America.
Well, and talking about building the fiber in the communities, it also increases home values.
Absolutely. I'm finding that realtor after realtor across America are looking for homes who have high-speed access. And I think the most reliable out there is the fiber optic builds that's going on across our country. You
talked about fiber coming to rural America, and we know that there's been a lot of dollars, right, being spent across the nation and given to projects to get that fiber in the homes. How do you and businesses like yours plan to accomplish that? And how can a small fiber optics company take part in that growth? Well,
multiple reasons on that. One thing is we go into communities, and we like to, what we do is we call it, set up a long-term shop. We, as a contracting company for the labor resources, the specialized labor that it takes to do the connectivity, we will come into the community with a team of people. We will hire local people. We will set up shop. We will try to be long-term, and we've been in several of operations, 17 and 15 and 14, 12 years we've been there. Even after the massive build takes place, there's ongoing service work, there's ongoing connectivity type activity, including wireless routers and so forth and so on. that we do. So we are one of the people that will be employers in these towns that are deploying out, and we're looking for the local people who want to stay in that town, have a skill set that is marketable, and we see that investment, and we buy fleet, we buy buildings, we obviously, when one small retail person or one small company like yours or mine is out there, those people that become employees are generating revenue to their families, and they're buying and spending in that community. So I just see it's the whole economic development of our country.
Something that stood out to me, I never even thought of. It also provides things like better health care, more access to me as a community member to be able to get my health care information online quickly.
Yep. I'm talking to many of my friends, the medical doctors who, in the old dial-up days,
right.
If you could get 96 baud, there's just no way to transmit the files that the medical industry needs without high-speed access. And so we're seeing better, newer, modern techniques developing in small doctor facilities, whether that's special physician care centers or the major hospitals in our area. It's absolutely necessary. The same as banking, the same as medical, the legal. It's volumes and volumes of files. And here's something that a lot of people can't think of the savings early on, though, is because of storage on the cloud that we can send by the high-speed access. You can now, I'm literally almost paperless. My goal for our company, and we had literally a warehouse full of files. It's mandatory that we keep for IRS purposes, for audit purposes, for our customers' businesses that they need us to research back. Who did an installation 2 years ago at 123 Daisy Street? We have to go back through our files, go back through the storage files, and do it. Now we've got them all scanned, and now everything's online as we go, as we've developed over the past 17 years. And so a click of a button on your computer with this high-speed access, we can call it off the cloud up to and including photos.
Right. Well, that's just it. With fiber, it's a click of a button.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Well, there's a lot of talk about 5G out there. So what are some of the challenges that come with deploying 5G?
Well, you're going to get deeper technical than I am at this stage of my career, but I can tell you this. When we started out, and I'm going to answer the question with you say, what time is it? I'm going to help us build a watch here for a second. When we, the Fiber Broadband Association, in the early days, call it 04, 05, 06, were talking with the legislators in Washington, D.C., we wanted to minimally be known by a 100 megabit nation. Now, you and I both know that's so antiquated in today's technology. But fortunately, the many vendors that's in our industry, as they were developing the ONTs, the optical network terminals, that's necessary to deploy the fiber to the business and to the residential dwellings, they had the foresight to know that 100 megabits would not be the speed that the market would need. And they started creating the PONs and the GPONs. And now it's not near for those early entrants into the fiber broadband passings. It's not hard for them to make the swing from a gig to 5 gigs. And I think right now these engineering types will tell us it's not out of our reach to go ahead and be 10G. And you and I both know we've got to first accomplish 5G out there, but they're already, you can't even get it off the drawing board. We're talking about
most definitely. Well, there has been some talk in the communities and people who really don't have the information they need about 5G. There's some concerns about the increased frequencies in the air. Is that something the public should be concerned about?
I don't think so for this reason. The technology changes so quick. We can't even get it off the 5G off the drawing board before we're looking at 10G. And the side of it is the technology of today, in 12 to 24 months' time, the engineering that's going on in the labs today, I don't think it's something that our communities need to be concerned about. Are we getting too much, too soon, too quick on the spectrum?
How long do you think it'll take to really get to that place where we are deploying 5G all around the different communities?
You know, I really believe that we'll be seeing 5G in 18 to 24 months. That's what the deploying number will be.
What does that look like for the public? Is there anything that we should be aware of while that's starting to happen?
I don't think so. I don't know if you saw there was an article that was in the Wall Street Journal. I think it was earlier in the week. And the article, and I'm paraphrasing, just went along the lines that here's what you're paying for, but here's what you really need. And I think the writer of the article was probably looking at today's usability and the equipment that people's tying on, whether that's iPads, laptops, desktops, iPhones, etc. And they're not using near the bandwidth today. But how do you project what tomorrow, meaning the next year, 18 to 24 months, needs are going to be, and how quickly everyone is so user-friendly with all the devices that's out there, and from streaming to over-the-top type products that people are using, I think we must go on to the 5G. Yes, we're not using the full gig yet, but I think if we step back and go, a gig's enough, that we're going to find out the market will outpace us, and then we'll all be playing catch-up.
Well, looking ahead 5 years from now, what do you see for the future of fiber optics?
Boy, for companies like yours and mine, and for our communities like yours and mine, and for the rest of America, I think the big challenge is that we get more deployment in rural USA. We're taking on the major cities. We're seeing them come on board and more deployers happening. I think there's nothing but blue skies for our industry because of the remaining market in the North American complex that's out there. I just see it. What a wonderful time to be entering into this, let alone for those of us who've been in it from the beginning.
So it sounds to me like there is a lot more to come for fiber.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe that with heart, soul, and billfold. You know, when you bank your checking accounts on it, you better be sure.
We're about to close. I can't tell you thank you enough. Is there anything else you want to be sure to talk about?
Well, I would just like to say for anyone that's listening that's thinking about looking into the options of building 5G networks, 1G networks, 10G networks out there, is to get involved with the industry that's really pushing the deployment of high-speed broadband networks built on fiber optics, the fiber optic backbone, and how that's going to look for the engineering types. You know, there's even talk about 5G locations to a spot and then wireless from there into the areas you're going to provide service to. Go ahead and join up and get involved with the associations, and there's multiple, but get involved. I'm biased. Get involved with the Fiber Broadband Associations. We like to believe that we've built our association to be the go-to group that you can connect with the people that's really got North America's best at heart, and that we're trying to facilitate the people with how do you build your community, how do you finance your community, how do you deploy fiber optics out there. Join up and become part of the pace setters and part of the decision makers. It's so key that you're involved and we have your input. I was involved, and we wanted to be involved with the board immediately, because if we're going to make decisions about an industry going forward, let's have a voice in it. Mm-hmm. So I encourage those that would be listening to this podcast, if you are considering it, get involved with associations. And again, I'm biased, but with the Fiber Broadband Association, and you can connect to a wealth of knowledge in industry leaders and vendors that they're banking billions of dollars on this industry and on the need to facilitate high-speed broadband across America.
That's great information. Thank you for that. On our next show, we will be talking with Lisa Youngers. She's the president of the Fiber Broadband Association. So we can talk a little bit more about the importance of joining that organization or something similar if you are in the fiber industry. So I appreciate that. That's great information. And I can't tell you thank you enough for everything you've talked with us about.
Thank you for letting us be part of your first podcast.
And thank you, everyone, for listening to our show today. To stay up to date with upcoming podcasts, you can find us at thefibergirlshow.com. I'm Tanya Bohannon. Thank you so much for listening.